Class, today I want to introduce you to the Reason handout. We are going to begin our unit on epistemology. If you recall, the three areas of philosophy is epistemology, how do I know, metaphysics, what is real, and ethics, what is the good life, or what ought I to do. So epistemology is the study of how we know things and what knowledge is. And we're going to start with the reason handout. And then we're going to go into alternatives to reason. And we'll look at a unit on skepticism and the various ways skepticism comes out. Skepticism is the view that says we can't have knowledge. So we will have to define reason, the alternatives in skepticism, and then what is knowledge, and see if we really can have knowledge. I'm going to say we can. So the reason handout is a central piece to this entire class. You should know this handout very, very well. I would memorize it if I were you. When I was a student, this was the most valuable handout, I think, of my college career. And I made a whole podcast series on this handout if you're interested on my YouTube channel. It's called Retrieving Reason. And I think there's 15, 20-minute episodes there just on this handout. So I am a big fan of the handout. But I'm going to do a smaller version for you. Otherwise, I just design the podcast. So reason is the tool for doing philosophy. It's not like other classes, if you recall. It's not like a science class where we have the scientific method and a lab where we can test things. There's no philosophy lab. Well, I guess maybe history is the lab for philosophy. Which ideas are going to survive? But reason is our tool. But in the history of ideas and the history of humanity, I suppose, lots of people talk about reason, but they mean different things. So we want to see what is reason and what do we do with it? So there's a distinction between reason, reasoning, rationality. We want to look at all of those and see what is it and how could we reason better. My theory, and so far in 25 years, I haven't had someone prove me wrong. My theory is that all the world's problems are due to the failure to use reason critically. So what does that mean? And how can we be better thinkers? How can we make the world a better place by using reason? So there are three parts to this handout, and I will probably break it into 3 different short videos just for the sake of not overloading you. So we'll talk about reason can be defined in itself. What is it? In its use, what do we do with it? And in us. So you can anticipate 3 core questions coming from this handout. What is reason in itself? What is reason in its use? And what is reason in us? And explain each of those. So heads up, those are exam questions. Take notes. First, let's look at reason in itself. This will be our first section. Reason in itself is the laws of thought. So we talked about this when we did reason as a method. We talked about reason, philosophy as a method. It's the critical use of reason, and reason is a test for meaning. So now we get to talk about what is reason. Anytime in class I say reason, I mean the laws of thought. So let's look at them and think about what a law is. So the first law is the law of identity. So you should know the name of the law and what the law states. A is A, where A stands for any being or idea, concept. iPhone is iPhone. Pencil is pencil. Human is human. A is A. A thing is what it is. All right, so we identify things and distinguish it. When I say iPhone, I distinguish it from all things that are non-iPhone. I distinguish the iPhone from the pencil. Okay, identifying and distinguishing. That's the first law of thought, identity. We do this all the time. The second law is the law of non-contradiction. And the law of non-contradiction is related to, builds upon the law of identity, and it says something cannot be both a thing, what it is, and non-A. It's not both an iPhone and a non-iPhone in the same respect and at the same time. You may want to add that to your notes. It's not both an iPhone and a non-iPhone in the same respect and at the same time. For example, at time A, it's an iPhone, and time B, later on down the line, maybe it's a paperweight because it doesn't work anymore. So something can't be both A and non-A. That's where we get this idea of contradictions. You're saying one thing and the other thing at the same time. That doesn't make any sense. The third law is the law of excluded middle. Excluded middle says something is either A or it's non-A. Either it's an iPhone or it's not an iPhone. Either it's true or it's non-true. Now, I want you to think about possible objections to these laws. And if you find one, send it to me in an email. What objections do you have to the laws? And what is a law? Think of the laws of physics. Gravity. If I drop the pencil, it's going to fall every time, right? Because there's laws of physics for Earth. There are laws of physics, and if you break them, you will hurt yourself. Like if I jump out of a window of a second story building, I will fall and hurt myself, possibly die, right? But what about laws of thought? Can we hurt ourselves if we violate the laws of thought? I'm going to say yes. You can hurt yourself and you can hurt society. If you say contradictory things, then you lose meaning. You're using words, emptying them of meaning. You say meaningless things, you commit murder on language. How about that? It's called logicide, is the murder of reason. And when you murder reason, you murder words. Semanticide. Okay? Fancy things, right? But these are laws, and we're going to see that we use these laws every time we think. So the laws, the only way to break the law is by breaking your thinking. And I'm going to suggest that's where all of our problems come in. So the laws of thought. The law of identity, A is A. The law of non-contradiction, not both A and non-A. And the law of excluded middle, either A or non-A. Don't overthink it. A just stands for anything or thought. And this is what we mean when I talk about reason. This is what I mean, the laws of thought. Other people may use the word reason, and they may mean different things. Now, we want to look at what do we do with these laws? So what? Some people think, so we have the laws of thought, big deal. What can they do for us? They can do everything for us. Let's look at it.